Welcome back to 12 News. Dan McGowan from the Boston Globe back in again this week, and we're talking about the Attorney General Peter Neronha this week. The attorneys general around the country, a lot of them anyway, very busy since President Trump was inaugurated. A lot of lawsuits. Neronha's involved with one of them, maybe more, I'm not sure, but there's a lot going on here with these attorneys general. So talk about your conversation you had recently with Peter Neronha.
Yeah, Neronha's in the state of Rhode Island, by extension, are involved in a lot of these lawsuits. One in particular is in Rhode Island. That's that federal funding freeze that's in front of Judge McConnell. But I wanted to talk to Attorney General Neronha about sort of why he's been so active. And what he told me is very interesting. They've been planning, the attorneys general, particularly the Democrats, have been planning for this moment going back all the way to June of last year.
Well before the election.
Well before the election. He said, you know, a lot of the swing state attorney generals, many of whom were Democrats, or at least at the time, were saying, look, we think Donald Trump can win. We think it's important to start planning for possibilities. And now, they didn't know there would be a federal funding freeze. They didn't know everything, but there were some obvious ones. Birthright citizenship, they knew would be a challenge. And they knew that some congressionally approved funding potentially could be at risk. And so they did. They came up with 51 issues to start kind of planning around potential lawsuits, doing research, that kind of thing.
So we obviously know Rhode Island is a heavy Democrat state here, heavily Democratic, so Attorney General isn't going to get a lot of pushback for being a part of these lawsuits. Do you think that's why he's been so involved in these?
I think that's a big part of it, yeah. Look, he's in the second term. In theory, he may no longer be in politics after next year, though I'm sure we'll talk about that. But I think the other factor is not just that he happens to be in a place where there's no consequences to being very anti-Trump. I think the other factor is he's a moderate. He's not somebody who, unlike in New York, where you have an attorney general who really went after Donald Trump, unlike in Massachusetts, where you have an attorney general who's a former Boston City Council member whose job was to be critical of Donald Trump, he's down the line. He's a guy who, you know, is a former prosecutor. He's gone after Democrats time and time again in his career. And so he has a little bit more, I think, credibility than maybe your standard issue Democrat.
All right, before we let you go, speaking of people that he might want to go after next, you talked about being final term as Attorney General. Some rumblings that he might be interested in running for governor and going after Dan McKee's seat.
Look, there's no way to stay on the radar like going after Donald Trump and the big guy. And so I think it's possible that he's somebody, he hasn't ruled out running for higher office. A lot of people think lieutenant governor. But I agree with you. I think potentially governor is something he'll continue to look at if his profile kind of remains high.
Okay. Dan McGowan from the Boston Globe, always some great insight information for us every week. Thanks for coming in.
Good to see you.